The lights that night didn't just shine, they stared her down. Every flash felt personal, every eye in the crowd locked on Porsha Williams, waiting for her to do what she always does: set the internet on fire without even trying. She stood center stage, still and calm, but you could sense the charge in the air. Her smile wasn't polite anymore. It carried a story, the kind of smile that said, "I've been through it, and I survived." When she finally leaned into the mic and said, "It's two," I narrowed it down to two. "He is nice, and she is nice," the entire room froze. Then came the shockwave. Gasps, laughter, phones lifted, and a storm of tweets born in seconds. It wasn't a gimmick. It was truth, live and unfiltered. What people saw wasn't the housewife they remembered. It was a woman who'd stopped performing. Porsha Williams was done letting men, tabloids, or networks define her. The woman who once cried on reunion couches was now standing on a stage rewriting her story in real time. She wasn't searching for validation. She was celebrating evolution. And everyone in that crowd could feel it. But make no mistake, Porsha knows her camera angles. She understands when to pause, when to drop a line that echoes through every gossip blog by sunrise. This was her specialty, turning vulnerability into power. Somewhere across the city, Simon Guobadia was probably watching, realizing too late that the woman he tried to silence had just taken back the narrative. Her words about non-narcissists hit harder than any shade could. You could hear the years of experience tucked inside that line. She wasn't talking about love anymore. She was talking about peace. No manipulation disguised as romance. No pretending just to keep the image alive. And when she laughed afterward, it wasn't nervous. It was freedom in motion. For too long, Porsha Williams had been adored for the packaging, not the person. The gifts, the vacations, the image, it all looked perfect until you realized how much of herself she had to lose to maintain it. That night, she was saying, without apology, that she was tired of being loved for the storyline. This was no stunt. It was self-reclamation. Simon Guobadia had tried to strip her of everything, her dignity, her sponsorship, even her name. But you can't revoke resilience. When she later posted that playful video with Afrobeats playing in the background, and the caption, 16 offers and counting, she wasn't bragging. She was reminding the world that her worth was never tied to a man's paperwork. That clip alone turned into a symbol, proof that peace looks good on her. Of course, the internet exploded. Old footage resurfaced, old names trended, old rivalries reignited. Kandi Burruss's warnings resurfaced like prophecy. But Porsha didn't respond. She didn't need to. Silence had become her superpower. Every minute she ignored the noise, the story grew louder. Insiders whispered that Bravo producers were already dialing her phone, seeing dollar signs. Whether it was business or truth didn't matter, because for once she held the cards. This wasn't the same woman who once begged for camera time. Now the cameras begged for her. Meanwhile, Simon was reportedly losing his grip. Every legal threat, every cryptic post about betrayal made him look smaller. He'd built his identity on control, but now the narrative belonged entirely to her. The same tabloids that once defended him now dragged him for sport. It was poetic justice, the kind Porsha Williams doesn't even have to orchestrate. She just lets karma handle it. When she said, "They're not letting me walk over them," it was the most honest thing she'd ever confessed. She was finally facing herself without filters, learning that love built on equality feels strange when you're used to chaos. Her smile faltered for a second, but the crowd clapped anyway, sensing that rawness. For the first time, they saw her humanity instead of her headline. By morning, every platform was looping her clip. Those 8 words, "he is nice and she is nice," became the internet's favorite riddle. Who was he? Who was she? It didn't matter. The mystery fed the moment, and Porsha Williams knew exactly how to let curiosity work in her favor. Then came the twist. Reports surfaced that Simon Guobadia was facing visa troubles overseas, his business empire quietly unraveling. People joked that karma was working overtime. While he panicked, she prospered. While he posted cryptic quotes, she posted peace. Her therapy sessions had changed her. People close to her said she'd learned to stop reacting, to breathe before answering, to choose stillness over spectacle. That growth scared people who thrived on her chaos. But growth doesn't need permission. It just happens. When Simon filed a $500,000 lawsuit claiming emotional distress, the internet laughed. Everyone could see it for what it was, a last attempt to stay relevant in her orbit. But Porsha Williams didn't bite. Her only response was a soft smile and a champagne photo captioned, "Different kind of peace." No hashtags, no subtweets, no drama. That single image said more than any interview could, because this wasn't about sexuality, it was about self-definition. For the first time, Porsha was building her own identity outside of any man's shadow. She wasn't the naive newlywed or the sobbing ex-wife anymore. She was a woman who had been broken publicly and still learned how to glow privately. The blogs could speculate all they wanted. The audience could debate whether it was love or PR, but the truth was simple. She'd stopped living for applause. Her happiness didn't need an audience anymore. When she finally stepped out for that quiet Atlanta dinner, holding hands with someone who clearly wasn't hiding her, it wasn't scandal, it was serenity. A blurry photo leaked online within hours, sparking another social media storm. But Porsha didn't explain, didn't deny. She just went home and posted one story, her hand raising a glass, captioned, "Here's to choosing differently." That's how she speaks now. Minimal words, maximum effect. Across town, Simon Guobadia was still fighting ghosts on Instagram. He posted long paragraphs about fake love and lost values, but every sentence made him sound more bitter than betrayed. People flooded his comments with clown emojis until he turned them off. The public had picked their favorite, and it wasn't him, Porsha Williams, the woman once mocked as dramatic, now embodied grace under fire. No screaming, no dragging, just silence sharp enough to cut through the noise. That silence became her armor. Every time she refused to respond, she reminded the world she'd already won. And maybe that's what real power looks like. Smiling while the storm passes. For years, Porsha had been the storyline. Now she was the director. The same camera that once exposed her pain was now documenting her evolution. She wasn't chasing redemption anymore. She was redemption. By midnight, one quote from her speech kept replaying across the internet. "If you want something different, you have to be different." It hit like gospel. Because beneath the gossip, that was her entire message. Porsha Williams had stopped auditioning for love. She'd started living for peace. By sunrise, every feed was flooded with her name again. Porsha Williams had the entire internet spinning, guessing, dissecting, and reposting the same 8 words, "He is nice," and "She is nice." But while the world argued about labels, Porsha was quietly sipping her coffee, scrolling through the noise with that soft smile that only comes from someone who knows she's already won. For once, she wasn't trying to control the story, she was the story. Meanwhile, Simon Guobadia was still fighting ghosts. He couldn't stand that his name only trended when hers did. Reporters said he'd filed new paperwork claiming emotional harm and reputational sabotage. The irony was heavy. The same man who'd tried to embarrass her in court was now crying over embarrassment of his own. He spoke about tradition, dignity, and cultural values, but nobody cared. People had already decided whose side history would take, and it wasn't his. Porsha Williams, however, wasn't watching the headlines anymore. She was too busy living. She started showing up at charity events, press launches, and private dinners looking radiant but peaceful, like someone who'd finally made peace with every mistake. When a reporter asked if she had a message for Simon, she simply said, "I hope he finds peace," and walked off. That moment went viral. Because when a woman stops arguing and starts wishing her ex peace, that's when you know the healing is real. The photo from that Atlanta dinner kept haunting the blogs. Fans zoomed in, drew circles, made wild guesses about who she was. Some swore it was a stylist, others claimed it was someone from production. But what really drove people crazy was how happy Porsha looked. Her smile, how happy Porsha looked. Her smile wasn't staged anymore. It was quiet, gentle, and real. That alone was enough to break the internet. Producers saw the reaction and wanted it on camera. When Porsha returned for filming, she laid down new rules. No fake fights, no manipulated edits, no villain storylines. "If you want the truth, film it as it is," she said. They agreed, and what they captured shocked everyone. Instead of chaos, they got vulnerability. Therapy sessions, late-night talks, moments of silence. Porsha Williams opened up about how she used to confuse attention for affection. She admitted she missed the noise sometimes because quiet felt strange. It wasn't the version fans expected, but it was the version they needed. Still, reality TV runs on tension, and drama found her again. One of her old castmates couldn't resist throwing shade, hinting that Porsha was doing too much for relevance. That line made it into the reunion taping. Everyone expected a clapback, but Porsha Williams stayed calm. She looked her co-star straight in the eye and said, "If I wanted attention, I'd still be married." The entire room went silent. Even the cameras seemed to freeze. That single sentence became legend. Online, the quote took off instantly. "If I wanted attention, I'd still be married" flooded timelines and captions. Women everywhere posted it like a mantra. Porsha had turned a dig into a declaration of independence. She wasn't defending herself, she was defining herself. At the same time, Simon Guobadia's world kept crumbling. More reports surfaced that his visa was being reviewed and his businesses were under pressure. Paparazzi caught him pacing outside a building, phone pressed to his ear, looking stressed. Fans joked that karma had perfect aim. Porsha never commented. She didn't need to. Her silence said everything. But peace isn't easy when you've been famous for chaos. Old clips resurfaced of Porsha Williams preaching against homosexuality years ago, and critics pounced. They called her hypocritical, said she'd changed only for convenience. Instead of hiding, she faced it head-on in an interview. "I was young," she said. "I thought judgment was protection. But love doesn't scare me anymore, it teaches me." That simple line disarmed everyone. Even her harshest critics fell quiet. Soon, new photos appeared of Porsha Williams and the woman everyone had been whispering about, walking through Atlanta, laughing like no one was watching. There were no staged angles, no luxury backdrops, just peace. For the first time, it wasn't about spectacle. It was about sincerity. And the internet loved it. Simon Guobadia, desperate for attention, posted another rant about fake queens and broken morals. But every word made him look smaller. Fans filled his comments with clown emojis until he shut them off. Meanwhile, Porsha kept posting cooking videos with her daughter, smiling like the world wasn't still obsessed with her love life. That contrast alone told the real story. He was spiraling. She was thriving. When Bravo dropped the new season trailer, the first clip was her walking into the reunion in white, radiant and unbothered. The voiceover said, "She's not fighting for love anymore, she's fighting for peace." The internet exploded. Hashtags like "Teach her peace is Porsha" and "She's nice" trended for days. Fans were calling her the comeback queen. At the reunion taping, Porsha Williams didn't raise her voice once. She listened, smiled, and spoke with purpose. "You can't shame me for growing," she said. "I've been every version of myself on this show, and now I'm finally me." Even the audience stood up and clapped. That moment wasn't just television, it was transformation. Off camera, insiders revealed that Simon had tried to reach out again, claiming he wanted closure. But everyone knew what that really meant. Attention. When Porsha heard about it, she laughed and told a friend, "He'll always chase the woman who stopped needing him." Within hours, that quote was everywhere, captioning memes, edits, and think pieces. Once again, she had turned her truth into a movement. By month's end, Porsha Williams wasn't just a headline, she was a symbol. The woman once defined by chaos now represented control. The one who used to perform love was finally living it. Fans who once doubted her were now defending her in every comment section. She didn't need to prove anything anymore. Her piece had become proof enough. Late one evening, she went live again. No glam, no filters, just her and a glass of wine. "People think peace is boring," she said softly, glancing at the camera. "But peace gets loud when you've never had it before. I used to be scared of what people would say if I changed. Now I'm scared of what would happen if I didn't." The chat filled with hearts, fire emojis, and thousands of women typing, "We feel you." That night it was clear. This story was never about who Porsha Williams dated. It was about who she became when she stopped performing for applause. A woman who took every rumor, every insult, every heartbreak, and turned it into light. A woman who finally realized that silence, when it's honest, is the loudest kind of revenge. And that's why people can't stop watching her. Because every time the world thinks they've seen her final act, Porsha Williams walks back into the spotlight, not to explain herself, but to remind everyone that peace looks good on her. Peace looks good on her.